You may think you know Forrest Gump. He ran across America, met presidents, and said life is like a box of chocolates. That much is clear. What most people do not know is what happened behind the scenes. The movie featured real shrimp deals, unusual casting choices, and a number of accidents that somehow worked out. It was funny, moving, and full of surprises. Stay with us as we share 20 weird facts about Forrest Gump that you probably did not know. Number 20. The book was not quite the same. Many fans of Forrest Gump do not realize the movie was based on a book. The novel, written by Winston Groom in 1986, had the same title and basic story, but many differences. The Forrest in the book was rougher, louder, and sometimes a little rude. He still had a kind heart, but his personality was stronger. Groom even imagined John Goodman in the role, which shows the kind of Forrest he had in mind: bigger, louder, and bolder. When the movie was made, the writers softened Forrest, making him quieter and more polite. Groom later said the film sanded down the character's rough edges. Even with those changes, the heart of the story stayed the same. A man with a simple mind and a big heart, living through amazing times. Fun fact, the novel had Forrest becoming an astronaut, which never made it into the movie. Number 19. Tom Hanks was not the first choice. Tom Hanks played Forrest so well that it is hard to imagine anyone else in the role. But he was not the first choice. He only agreed after reading the script for 90 minutes, then quickly called back to say yes. A decision that changed his career forever. Before Tom, the role was offered to John Travolta, who turned it down to star in Pulp Fiction. The studio also considered Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, and Sean Penn. Each would have given Forrest a very different feel, but none felt right. In the end, Tom Hanks brought the perfect balance of innocence and depth. Travolta later admitted he regretted saying no. That proves sometimes the best roles are the ones that almost slip away. Number 18. The brothers switch. One of the most famous parts of the movie was Forrest running across America. But in many of those wide shots, it wasn't Tom Hanks running. It was his younger brother, Jim Hanks. From a distance, they looked almost the same, and Jim copied Tom's movements so well that nobody noticed. Using Jim saved time and energy since Tom was already busy filming close-ups every day. Jim has actually worked as Tom's double in other projects too, including commercials and voice work for Toy Story video games. This behind-the-scenes teamwork between brothers made Forrest's legendary run possible. Number 17. Forrest Gump Pictures. Here is a tiny detail most people miss. Every time there is a still photo of Forrest in the movie, his eyes are closed, not once or twice, but in every single picture. This was done on purpose as a quiet inside joke between Tom Hanks and the director. It matched Forrest's sweet, simple nature, like someone who always blinked at the wrong time. You can see it in photos of him as a football player, a soldier, and even at the White House. The closed eyes made him feel more human and more real. In fact, it also hints at Forrest's character. He never tries to be perfect, he just lives honestly. Number 16. The sequel Forrest Gump was such a huge hit that many expected a sequel. Winston Groom, who wrote the original book, even wrote a follow-up called Gump and Company in 1995. The sequel showed Forrest in new adventures, including working at a chicken restaurant and meeting Tom Hanks himself. By 2001, a script was ready. But after the September 11th attacks, Tom Hanks and director Robert Zemeckis felt the world had changed too much. The jokes no longer fit the time. They decided not to move forward. The project has stayed in development hell ever since. Interestingly, Groom once said he hoped the sequel would give him the profit share he never received from the first movie. Number 15. Forrest's mom was almost his age. Sally Field gave a heartfelt performance as Forrest's mother, but in real life, she was only 10 years older than Tom Hanks. Just 6 years before, in the movie Punchline, Sally actually played his love interest. Switching from girlfriend to mother shows how powerful acting and makeup can be. The age gap didn't stop audiences from believing in their mother-son bond. Field said she took the role seriously because she felt Forrest's mom was the emotional center of the story. Without her tough love, Forrest's life would not have turned out the same. Number 14. The famous bench. One of the most iconic movie scenes ever shows Forrest sitting on a bench, holding chocolates, and telling his story. But that bench wasn't part of the real park. It was built just for the movie in Chippewa Square, Savannah, Georgia. The crew placed it facing the street so the camera could capture the background. After filming, the bench was moved to the Savannah History Museum, where fans still visit it today. Interestingly, the box of chocolates Forrest held during filming was real and weighed over 20 pounds. Tom Hanks joked that carrying it all day was the hardest part of the shoot. Number 13. Vietnam in South Carolina. The Vietnam War scenes looked incredibly real, but they weren't filmed overseas. They were shot on Fripp Island, South Carolina. The thick trees and swamps worked perfectly for jungle settings, but South Carolina has no mountains, so the mountains were added later using computer graphics. Most of the filming site is now part of a golf course, but back then it was open land. The choice saved money and allowed the crew to control the environment. That shows how clever location choices can make a small area look like another country. Number 12. The helicopters were real. To make Vietnam scenes realistic, the filmmakers used actual helicopters from the Vietnam War era. These were not props. They were real machines that had carried soldiers into battle decades earlier. The sound, design, and way they moved through the air were all historically correct. By using them, the movie gave audiences an experience closer to old war footage. Many veterans who watched the movie later said those details made the scenes more powerful and respectful. Number 11. The blue plaid shirt. There's one small but smart detail in the movie. Every time Forrest's life moves to a new stage, he is shown wearing a blue plaid shirt. As a child, as a teenager, and later as an adult, the shirt pattern repeats. It was the filmmaker's way of showing that even though Forrest's world kept changing, he remained the same person inside. Costume designers often use tricks like this to tell a story without words. In this case, the shirt became a symbol of Forrest's steady heart. Number 10. Real shrimpers. One of the most loved parts of Forrest Gump was when Forrest started his shrimping business. He promised Lieutenant Dan he would do it, and true to his word, he bought a boat after the war. At first, they caught almost nothing, and it seemed like a hopeless idea. But Forrest never gave up. With time, hard work, and a little luck, the business grew. What makes those scenes special is that they weren't staged in a studio. They were filmed out on the real Gulf of Mexico. The people seen working in the background weren't actors either. They were real shrimpers, local fishermen who knew how to handle nets and boats. Their presence gave the scenes authenticity. Interestingly, Forrest's shrimping story was inspired by a real Vietnam veteran who came home and built a shrimping business. His quiet, hard-working life helped shape Forrest's journey. Number 9. The Indian remake. Forrest Gump touched hearts worldwide, and in India, filmmakers decided to create their own version. Bollywood star Amir Khan produced and acted in the remake, titled Lal Singh Chadha. Instead of American history, the film followed major events in Indian history while keeping the same message of kindness and hope. The project was announced years earlier, but delays and the COVID-19 pandemic slowed it down. Finally, in 2022, the film was released, bringing Forrest's story to a whole new audience. Khan said he personally loved Forrest Gump and wanted Indian families to experience it in their own culture. The movie even included a running across India sequence, inspired by Forrest's famous American run. Number 8. The ping pong skills. After being injured in the war, Forrest discovered his talent for ping pong. He became so good that he played in tournaments and even represented the United States in China. There's a hidden detail in those scenes. Forrest never blinked while playing. A soldier once told him to keep his eye on the ball, and Forrest took it literally. Tom Hanks acted this out by refusing to blink during every game. To make the matches look real, the filmmakers used special effects. The ball itself was added later using computer graphics, but the movements had to be perfect. A professional player named Tom Veach trained Hanks to get the timing right. Fun fact, Forrest's ping-pong career was inspired by real U.S. players who were sent to China in the 1970s during ping-pong diplomacy. Number 7. Bubba could have been. Tupac Bubba, Forrest's shrimp-loving friend, became one of the most beloved characters. But many actors were considered before Mykelti Williamson got the role. David Alan Grier, Ice Cube, and Dave Chappelle all turned it down. Ice Cube felt Bubba was written too slow and didn't want to play him. Dave Chappelle thought the movie wouldn't succeed, later calling that choice one of his biggest mistakes. Even Tupac Shakur auditioned for the role. There is video of him reading Bubba's lines, but he was not chosen. In the end, Mykelti Williamson brought warmth and depth to Bubba, making him unforgettable. His shrimp monologues became so popular that people still quote them today. Without Mykelti, Bubba might not have left such a lasting mark on audiences. Number 6. The Big Hit. That lost money. Forrest Gump was one of the biggest films of the 1990s, earning over $350 million at the box office. But here's the twist. Paramount Pictures later claimed the movie actually lost money. They reported being short by $62 million, even after all the success. This happened because of something called Hollywood accounting. Studios often add hidden costs like marketing, distribution fees, or overhead charges. On paper, it makes a profitable movie look like it had no profits left to share. This affected author Winston Groom, who had been promised a cut of the film's earnings. He never got what he expected, even though his book inspired the entire story. It's one of Hollywood's strangest money tricks, a blockbuster hit that was called a financial loss. Number 5. The Vietnam Jungle. Wasn't in Vietnam. Forrest's time in Vietnam looked hot, humid, and dangerous, but the movie was not filmed in Asia at all. Those jungle scenes were shot in South Carolina. The crew transformed the area using palm trees flown in from California and carefully built rice paddies with water and mud. To make it feel like the real Vietnam, the filmmakers used smoke, mist, and even special sound recordings of insects from Southeast Asia. Cinematographer Don Burgess used wide shots to show endless green fields, creating the illusion of a huge jungle. If you look closely, you'll notice the trees don't exactly match Asian forests, but the movie's emotional weight makes it convincing. Number 4. The Running Man. One of the most iconic parts of the film is Forrest's cross-country run. He ran through deserts, mountains, and small towns, all filmed in different states like Utah, Arizona, and Montana. Tom Hanks said those scenes were some of the hardest to shoot because of the heat, dust, and long hours. But here's a secret. Not all of it was Hanks. In some shots, his younger brother, Jim Hanks, stepped in as a body double. Jim had the same running style and build, making the switch seamless. Forrest's run was partly inspired by real people, like a man named Louis Michael Figueroa, who ran across America in the 1980s. The scene became a symbol of hope, showing how Forrest just kept going when life had no answers. Number 3. The CGI magic you didn't notice. In 1994, digital effects were still new, but Forrest Gump used them in clever ways. Forrest shaking hands with presidents like John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, and Richard Nixon wasn't done with look-alike actors. Instead, the filmmakers used real old footage, then digitally inserted Tom Hanks into the scenes. The team also altered the voices of the presidents to match Forrest's conversations. Another effect many people miss. Gary Sinise, who played Lieutenant Dan, had his legs digitally removed. He wore blue socks over his legs so the visual team could erase them later. These subtle tricks helped the movie feel magical without looking like a heavy special effects film. Number 2. The bench is missing. The white bench where Forrest told his life story became one of the most famous spots in movie history. It was placed in Chippewa Square in Savannah, Georgia. Fans still visit the location every year, but if you go there now, you won't find the bench. The city removed it after filming to protect it from weather and theft. Today, the bench is kept safe inside the Savannah History Museum. Visitors can see it on display, along with other film memorabilia. Even without the bench, Chippewa Square remains a top tourist spot where people love to sit and say, "Life is like a box of chocolates." Number 1. The improvised line. The most famous line in the movie, "My name is Forrest Gump. People call me Forrest Gump," wasn't in the script. Tom Hanks came up with it during filming, and the director loved it so much that they kept it in. That small moment captured Forrest's innocence and humor perfectly. Hanks has said that many of Forrest's most touching moments came from improvisation. Instead of reading lines exactly, he tried to act as Forrest would naturally speak. This gave the character a sense of honesty that audiences connected with.